Hi, this is Kathleen from Sunny Mountain Patterns. Here is my buttonhole hack that I got from a vintage sewing book. First, you're going to start by finishing the ends and then the button placket that you need. I've added on the seam allowance on both sides, and then I folded the wrong sides together for the button placket, and then you can notice I've already finished the seams. So if you use a serger, you cannot serge it beforehand. after. You have to do it beforehand. So I've just finished both ends, so I could pin. If you're going to do this later on the machine, that's okay, but if you're going to use a serger, you have to do this. So I'm demonstrating how to fold the placket in half. You probably already know how to do that. So that's the right side. We're going to put the right sides together, pin it, and then we're going to I have a little guide that's a buttonhole guide that's available in the Facebook group. It's the Sewing Sunny Mountain Patterns Facebook group. I have this guide. I've actually spaced these apart a little bit further because it's ridiculously close together. I realized that as I was sewing this, and I put them way too close. But you find the button size that you need. These are sized so the buttons will fit nicely. And then match up the edge here, and then put your pins in to mark where the holes should be. You might have to move it around to see what's the easiest way to accommodate how you pin. I'm left-handed, so it's easier if I have pins on the left-hand side. Please ignore the fact that I use the top of the buttonhole guide. That's actually not accurate. You want to pin where the boxes are. You can, of course, use a pen, which I'll demonstrate shortly. But the pins help keep it together. And that's too wide, by the way, so don't be inaccurate like me. I'll fix it in a second. There we go, I'm fixing it. Yeah, fast forward. So you can use a pen to mark where you want to be, or where you want to sew, so you remember. Especially if you have these further apart, it's not as evident. This is, of course, much too close together. I'm sorry. I changed my mind afterwards. I didn't want to refilm this. So the small spaces are the spaces you're going to sew. Yeah, that space is where I'm going to leave open because that's for the button. So now we're going to go to the sewing machine with my new GoPro camera. New to me. I bought it secondhand. So you're going to forward and backward stitch the beginning, and then forward and backward stitch, and this is important, forward and backward stitch before you get to the first pin, which is where the buttonhole is, because you need it reinforced. You can't just leave it out. It'll start unraveling. And lift up your presser foot and put it back down to skip over the buttonhole, and then just keep going. You don't need to cut it just yet, because that's just a bunch of time you don't need to spend. You can do this, cut the threads on the buttonhole area afterwards. So I'm skipping over the buttonhole, pushing the presser foot down, and forward and back stitching both front and back. If it's very thin margins like I've got, you can of course just do the entire length. And we're just going to do this for all of the buttonholes. So you can see how serging this would be a bad idea. Also make sure your edges are aligned. I did not. I'm sorry, I'm somewhat of a messy sewer. So this is what it looks like when it's been put together. We're going to press open the seam. Now you can see why serging this together is not a good idea. And then we're going to top stitch these down. Now while you're top stitching, you can of course go across either with a zigzag at the top and bottom openings of the buttonhole. Especially if you have people that are quite hard on their buttons, like my little kid, you could take time to do that. So here's the top stitching on both sides. This just makes it so it lies down nicely, and it helps reinforce things. Actually, no, I don't think it really reinforces anything now I'm thinking about it. So do both sides. And if you want to go over the openings on the top and bottom, you certainly can, because you can see how the thread's poking out already. So this is what it looks like when it's done. I'll show you the back in a second. And that's what it looks like in the back. If you did not use a serger, you can go ahead and pink them now very carefully, or do them right before you top stitch, which probably would have been good information for you to have before you top stitched. And that's the buttonhole hack. Thank you.